we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you listening and watching to all of our great shows wherever you are around the world. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you could like, share, subscribe, follow, or do whatever it is that you can to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, the Lakers Fast Break, Vampires and Vitae, Wizards and Wine with Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and everything that we do in the world of tabletop RPG or role playing, as it were,
Mm.
right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Go ahead and check us out today at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, where you get the latest news and trends in pop culture. And there's been a lot to talk about today. We'll get into that here in a sec. Plus, also as well, our main site, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com, where you'll see a collection of all of our awesome shows. And of course, don't forget all the things that we do here at Pop Culture Cosmos. Go ahead and support us any way you can. And if you do, it's sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos this time around without my good friend. She is the magistrate of all that is role playing here at Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to go ahead and check out what she's doing today at Vampires and Vitae, plus also as well Wizards and Wine. That's available right now wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Check out the entire library after our show, of course.
Mm.
Please go ahead and do that. She is a fantastic role playing, knowledgeable type person. And she even got a guest for us that even knows more about role playing. It's my good friend indeed. It is Melinda Barkhouse Ross. And Melinda had a great interview lined up, which we're going to play a little bit later on with Alex Scheidler of the Desert of Shadows Las Vegas LARP group. How's it going today?
It's going very well. How are you?
Good, good, good. And on
Good.
top of that, since I went to the Mint Collective major sports card show this past weekend at the MGM Grand Garden and Casino Convention Center here on the Las Vegas Strip, I want to get a chance to talk to a sports card expert, Rob Dolby, here later in the show and ask about his thoughts on the sports card scene and my observations on it as well. So, a lot of good stuff coming up, a lot of good conversation. But I tell you what, Melinda, guess what dropped? All this great info that dropped last night when it concerns Star Wars. Did you get a chance to check it out?
I've checked out some of it, but it was a lot. So I have not gotten all the way through the pile yet.
Okay, okay. Well, it
It's
was
a lot.
Star it was a lot. And it was Star Wars Celebration 2023, which is taking place across the pond. It's taking place on the other side of the world, and just truly cannot thank everyone enough for getting us the news in regards to this. Such a great, great time everybody's having seemingly at Star Wars Celebration right now. And I want to ask you this first off, when it comes to Star Wars Celebration, you're really going to have a awesome time if you go to it, but you're there for the news. And it's funny because you're there, they announce the news, and then the rest of the show happens, and it's almost like, okay, we have all that great stuff up front, and then it's just like afterglow for the rest of the time.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, that's definitely how it feels. And even not being able to be there in person,
Yeah.
you still kind of get that feeling.
In
Um,
London this time around.
yeah, but maybe there might be an element of FOMO in there, fear of missing out on all the good stuff. But like you said, people are really good about pushing information out. So yeah, when we sit over here and just read the news, it's like, man, to have been in that room for that announcement.
Absolutely. And the biggest announcements were here we go. And this, do you want to go ahead and hit the heavy stuff first, or do you want to go ahead and with some of the lighter stuff that's really cool as well, like Ahsoka, like talking about Star Wars Acolyte, all that stuff that's coming up on the in the not too distant future for the Disney Plus, or do you want to get to the meat, the bone type deal
Ooh,
for what was announced with all the new movies coming up?
that's a tough question. Maybe can we go back and forth between like light, heavy, light, heavy? Can we mix it
I
up that
will
way?
do my best on
All
that.
right, all right.
So we'll go with the light first, and I
Okay.
think the first thing is it is Star Wars Ahsoka. The first trailer was shown off, and it was sent out to the rest of the world. It is available now. I actually can give you the link right there. If you're at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, you can go ahead and click on the link, and it's right there for you. It did showcase the Ahsoka character and a reunion of sorts for everyone that loves Star Wars Rebels. This is going to be the live action series, Star Wars style for you. This is Dave Filoni. This is his dream of Star Wars Rebels coming to life. There's more Dave Filoni coming up in the not too distant future, but obviously his work with Star Wars, The Mandalorian, with him and John Favreau, those two together have built a juggernaut with The Mandalorian, and they are basically able to write every single check, or at least cash every single check that Disney wants to write on it. Because while Disney may be cutting back in other areas of the Star Wars universe, or even the Marvel universe, or even the Disney universe in total, they're not stopping now with anything related to Dave Filoni.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they've gone all in for sure.
Absolutely, because the
Mhm.
Ahsoka, it had everything that you wanted, all the live action versions of the characters that you've come to know and love in the Star Wars Rebels universe. They are now seemingly in that trailer, plus Grand Admiral Thrawn, although you don't get to see his blue face, not yet. They
Right.
kind of I think they're saving that for the end of Mandalorian this season. I think they're going to probably go ahead and do that before they go ahead and showcase that in the Ahsoka series. But yes, you do get to see a lot of action. Ahsoka basically trying to do what she can as far as one of the last few remaining Jedi that's out there. So great to see, and well deserved series. Again, much beloved in the Star Wars Rebels universe. Dave Filoni's live action version of Star Wars Rebels coming to life with Ahsoka. So that's probably one of the main things out of the television side. There was also, for the heavy side, was the big announcement of not one, not two, but three movies coming up in the Marvel cinematic, excuse me, in the Star Wars cinematic universe that are coming up. So see how MCU and all that. Star Wars cinematic universe, and none of them was the reported Taika Waititi movie that we heard about last month in the news. None of them was based on the Kevin Feige or Patty Jenkins movies, which have either been shelved or put to the wayside.
Mhm.
This was all about new projects that are underway, one of which was for Dave Filoni in a New Republic style movie, New Republic era movie, but it seems very familiar to me, and there's quite a possibility that the Ahsoka Mandalorian universes will collide in that movie and possibly be the ending that we want to see for the Mandalorian.
I mean, that would be the poetic way to do it, right?
We've talked about that before as far
Yeah.
as it ultimately going to the big screen.
Yeah, I think that that's the poetic way to do it. I think that's the correct way to do it. I think that, The Mandalorian deserves some big screen time, and that's coming from somebody who is I would consider myself a passive Star Wars fan, so, um, I think that I can't be the only person who thinks that from the
No,
sidelines, you know?
I think that's a good move. I think that's a reward for how big the Mandalorian has become. Not only the Ahsoka series, but this movie, granting him this movie to go ahead and do as he pleases. Although again, it's set in the New Republic era, but I have a feeling it's going to tie in somehow to the Mandalorian. He's going to have that type of ending at some point in time. Grogu will be involved, it somehow.
Of
So
course, yeah.
yeah, so we're going to see something of that nature coming from a Dave Filoni movie down there. Again, Taika Waititi, that's the thing that was reported all over the place last month as far as a movie set from him, and that would be the first movie coming out. So I don't know what the status of that movie is at this point in time, if it's been shelved or if it's actually or since it's been talked about, they didn't decide to mention it. But what they did mention was another movie in development, this time from the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny director, James Mangold, who you know from Logan. I think is
Mhm.
probably the movie that you're most reminded of. But you're seeing him now in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. The man, oh, conveniently, the second trailer dropped today. Lucasfilm timing all these things out. what do you know? But yes, that's that dropped today. That second trailer looks really good, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that. So, James Mangold, the director of that movie, taking over for Steven Spielberg, he has now been given and granted a movie within the Star Wars universe as well, where this time, I think from him, it's going to be the Old Republic. If you're familiar with Star Wars, the Old Republic from the video games and books from the bygone era, as far as the birth or the inception of the Jedi. So you tell me your thoughts on this. We're going back in time for this one with a movie from James Mangold in the Star Wars universe.
Okay, how far back are we going though?
We're going back to the birth, the dawn of the Jedi, possibly. That's what's rumored to be happening with this one.
That's
Old
cool.
Republic is Old Republic is it's old.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea. You know, following the discovery of the Jedi and how all of their stuff happened. Um, I think that'll be an interesting movie. Definitely a topic that I'm interested in for sure. You know, so I think really an origin story done correctly is always a win, but an origin story done poorly is shocking. And we've certainly seen our share of both. So
There's mention of the upcoming television series outside of Ahsoka that are coming in 2024. First, starting off with Star Wars The Acolyte, which was called by its creators where Frozen meets Kill Bill. So it's like one opposite to the other, but there's a 2024 release window that was revealed for it. So it's early 2024, I think, spring 2024, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to check on that real quick. Also, as well, I did want to make sure and everybody let know that Star Wars that was for Star Wars the Acolyte. The second is Star Wars Andor season 2
yeah.
is aiming for an August 2024 release date. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, the first season of Andor was absolutely terrific. You got to finish that, correct?
I can't remember if I finished it or not. And I don't
Oh,
wanna ask
shame
you
on
what
you.
happened at the end of it because then if I haven't watched it, I've spoiled it for myself. And honestly, it's been a couple of weeks at least since we've put on I think we accidentally watched Andor one night.
Mhm.
I know that's a weird statement, but you know how sometimes you just put something on and then it automatically plays something after that? We were
Mhm.
watching something on Disney Plus. Oh, I think we were watching the latest episode of The Mandalorian. And then that ended and Andor just started to play, so we just
Yes.
watched. We binged probably 4 or 5 episodes at once.
It is a fantastic series.
Yeah.
Again, it was one of my best of 2022. So I'm hoping that it will get the green light as far as being able to make its August 2024 release date. I know they've been in production shooting it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what's coming up for Star Wars Andor season 2. It is the final season of Andor. So they aren't going to extend it any further than that. And then last but certainly not least is Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which is going to feature Jude Law. And that one is actually underway as far as production. That one did not determine exactly when 2024 or outside of 2024. It confirmed 100% on when that one is going to go ahead and debut. I mean, it says what I'm seeing here that there's no release date set yet, but and I actually want to go ahead and make sure everybody knows there is no release date set for Star Wars The Acolyte. It is 2024, and that's all they said for it. So 2024 release date for Star Wars The Acolyte. You've got an August possible release date for Star Wars Andor, and you don't have a release date yet for Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which may not even debut until 2025.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think Skeleton Crew also sounds interesting, plus Jude Law.
Hmm.
That was who you said was playing in it, right? I'm
Yep.
sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
That really, I mean, attaching Jude Law to a project is going to get the attention of an awful lot of people.
That's true. Absolutely, indeed. I know there's also talk, very much talk, about reviving Patty Jenkins' movie back into life. And as they said that Kathleen Kennedy, the head of Lucasfilm, said it's not dead yet. There's a possibility of reviving that. And then also that they've also talked to Donald Glover for a series for his Lando Calrissian character, which I would absolutely love since Donald
Yeah.
Glover is one of the most talented people on the face of the earth. So,
He is unbelievably, shockingly
yes,
talented. It's not fair for the rest of
absolutely.
us plebs, really.
So before we go ahead and mention, I'm going to give you a chance to think on one thing you would have loved to have heard them announce as far as an upcoming thing per se, as far as in the Star Wars universe. You would have loved to have heard them announce on today's Star Wars celebration, TV series, game, movie, something in that nature. So I'll let you think on that. But before we go ahead and ask for that and talk about that, I want to ask you this. When it comes up to Star Wars Celebration, the last major thing that was announced as far as a movie, one of the three movies that are definitely in the works already, according to Kathleen Kennedy, is a movie by Charmin Obaid Chinoy. Excellent director. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she has to offer. But, and I say but, this will focus on a movie about 15 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker, which, as you know,
Mm,
saw declining returns from a $2 billion movie with the first of the movies that came out under J.J. Abrams to the last of the movies that came out as far as this trilogy, which went down to $1.5 billion and then $1 billion. So it lost $1 billion from number one to number three as far as the latest Star Wars trilogy is concerned. Now you're saying you want to go back into that universe and go into a world 15 years later with Rey as a Jedi Master, which again, beloved characters, beloved character. A lot of people love her character. Very divisive as far as where she came from, as far as the movies that are surrounded, because you either love those movies or you really hate those movies. Kind of like the prequels themselves earlier in the '90s. You know, you either love them or hate them. And we saw from the last Skywalker here at the show, we weren't exactly in love with that movie. In fact, we use it as a punchline in many of our ads. Your thoughts on this in regards to bringing Ray back, Daisy Ridley as the Ray character 15 years later as this now master Jedi, maybe training a new generation of Jedis?
I hope that it's a bit of a redemption, for both the actress and the character. I think that, um,
Well, it
you
wasn't
know
due to her. It was just
Yeah,
written very.
no.
The whole
Yeah,
story was written very poorly. You know,
of
the
course.
script, yeah, it was awful. Finn, who I'd love to see. Well, okay, I'll go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So I would love to, see, uh, a movie that she's a lead in, be universally applauded. And I don't know that that's possible no matter who is at the front of a Star Wars movie. I think that a lot of people are going to look for reasons to be upset about whatever you try to do in the Star Wars universe.
Because like I said, the Force Awakens $2 billion
Yeah.
movie. Then it went to the Last Jedi, and either love or hate that movie, of course. That one went down to about $1.5 billion, and then the Rise of Skywalker to $1 billion. I don't know. I was just hoping, and I thought that that was the belief, and that was many of the ideas that was pitched to Kathleen Kennedy. From what reports say, is that they were going to go into a future part of the Star Wars universe that was well beyond the Skywalker saga, which I was actually looking forward to.
Well, this movie set 15 years after, the events of the last movie. It's entirely possible that it's going to use elements of that to set up the movies that they've just announced. That seems to me like something that is possible, something that could happen. Whether you're introduced to a character or a location or something, that will tie it to the new movies coming. Can't hear ya.
Again, I would love to see a future where it evolves beyond the Skywalker saga. I mean, actually, with the one thing I would love to see as far as them announce that they didn't announce, and I don't know if he'll actually ever do it again because he has some sore feelings last time I heard, is regards to a series around Finn and also Kelly Marie Tran's character. Just, those characters that were sorely misused or misunderused in the last Skywalker really get a breakout series of their own. I would have loved to have seen that. If you're going to stay within the Skywalker universe, I would have loved to have seen that more than a continuation of Ray's story, which I think was already played out by the time the last Skywalker hit.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but I'm excited to see the evolution of a female Jedi master that we have watched, you know, discover all of her talents and go through everything that she's gone through. I think it's
Mhm.
going to be an interesting look at what's Ray doing now. Instead of checking it on Facebook, we get a movie. I don't know. I'm not mad about
Well, her boyfriend, spoilers, went kind
it.
of into thin air. So I
Yeah.
don't know what exactly. Again, I just would have loved for them to go. I heard that they wanted to go after the poor returns from the Last Skywalker, then the bad taste in the mouth for a lot of Star Wars fans about the Last Skywalker evolve well beyond the Skywalker saga, and I think that's what was being pitched by a lot of individuals. But unfortunately, they just can't leave well enough alone. And again, if you were going to go that area, I would love to have seen a series based off of Finn because I think he's an outstanding character that they barely scratched the surface on. But we'll never know. We'll never know again because of what they've done and what they're going for now, and how hard feelings that there are in regards to what went on with the last Skywalker and what was left out and what was portrayed. And I guess, like I said, right now, Daisy Ridley is back playing a role that she's very familiar with, and seeing how, like you said, the character evolves so many years later.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but again, I'm a passive fan in this one, so I don't have the real passion that I know a lot of Star Wars fans have. Like if this was well, no, I can't even compare it to Star Trek because I'll even watch bad Star Trek. I don't care. I'm not fussy.
That's right.
So that part doesn't
Bowl
really matter
pizza.
to me so much, right? Yeah. So, but no, I think that news like this should be met with cautious optimism from consumers of this content, and I think that it's time for us. I mean, I can remember having a problem with a blonde James Bond at one point. I was like, how are you going to do that? Because he's always had dark hair.
Mhm.
Um, but now, the Daniel Craig stuff came out, and we cannot get enough of Daniel Craig as 007. So
And it's not just her. It's just the fact I would
now,
love to see them evolve a new story in the Star Wars universe that maybe this generation or the younger generation can adapt to, because anything that you're relating now in this universe or the other movies, they're all relating to universes that were created by my generation that are now in their 50s and 60s. I
right.
would love to see a Star Wars that's made specifically for younger audiences that they could relate to, that they could grow up with for decades to come.
Right, but then people who are in their 50s and 60s will be upset because that's not my Star Wars.
Well, they've got a ton of stuff that's going out there. They got the Mandalorian, they've got the
Yeah.
Old Republic movie that's coming out, they've got the New Republic movie that's coming out. They've got all these series that are connected within the confines of the Old or New Republic or Skywalker era that are on Disney Plus. They've got a ton of stuff that they can go ahead and chew on. Give something that to in the Star Wars realm to a newer, younger audience that they can relate to as their own as they grow older and maybe share with their kids down the line. That's what I'm just thinking.
Yeah, for sure. And the true tragedy in this is that, this film could be something that should be shared between fathers and kids, or grandfathers and kids, grandmothers and kids, whatever, however you want to frame it. It's fine. But there will at some point have to be a passing of the torch, and we don't know what this movie set 15 years ahead of the rise of the last Skywalker, whatever the title was. I'm sorry. um it's possible that that's going to be a bridge that they use to be able to branch off and tell other stories. We don't know anything about the movie yet. All they've done is announce Daisy 15 years in the future and Jedi Master. Do
I
we
would have
know
loved to
much
see them
more
to
than that?
go. Well, I'd love to see them to go like 102 years or 200 years in the future. Josh Peterson, he had said it years ago, best as far as having something that a Star Wars he saw as a declining returns. He saw, even with the success of the Mandalorian, with declining returns to a younger audience, having something that they could relate to. And that's what got in my head. And I said, you know what, you're right. They need some Star Wars that they can call their own for their own experiences outside of just saying, okay, that's just the takes place in the timeline that my dad or my granddad or my grandma or my ma or my older sister have become familiar with.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that there's something to be said for, you know, not just hearing this news and automatically assuming that it's gonna be bad or that it's not
No, I
gonna
didn't
be
say it was
good.
going to be bad. It could be
Or
good. I just thought it'd be fresh. Fresh is what I'm asking. I'm not.
right,
I would
but
doubt. I would seriously doubt it's going to be as bad as the last trilogy or how it was received. I'm just saying I would love to see something fresh, new, set apart from the Star Wars universe that we already are familiar with.
right, but we know that the Rey character is now a Jedi Master, and she is potentially training new Jedi.
But it's still Ray from the Last Skywalker
Right,
from that
but it
series of
could be
movies.
the new Jedi for the new movies that you're talking about, for the
And
new branch that's gonna grow out of it.
but
Come
you're still
on,
tying.
Gerald.
Come
Oh,
on,
come
Melinda.
on, come
Come on,
on.
come
You
on.
gotta attach it all at some place or it's disjointed and it
Come
doesn't make any
on.
sense.
Come
Come on.
on. Come on. It is going to make a sense because you can say it's a long time ago. That scroll at the beginning of every Star Wars movie sets up everything for you. Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
They just they make you read the recap instead of showing it to you. That's the difference.
What are your thoughts out there on what went on and what was announced this weekend at Star Wars Celebration? Come on.
Come
Let us
on.
let us know if you really like everything set within a universe connected to each other, or would you like to have seen even one project announced set in a little bit different time frame in a galaxy a little bit in a different galaxy far, far away. Let us know your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. But before we get to the Alex Scheidler and also as well Rob Dolby conversations, my friend, before we head on out, Super Mario Brothers movie is kicking some serious booty.
Yeah,
It
it
is
seems to
now,
be.
yes, yeah. From our Friday show, the expectations and the numbers I announced, they've been blowing those out of water, and it looks like it's going to get close to domestically alone, close to 190, possibly 195, $200 million over the course of the next 5 days. And if you include Monday on top of it, because a lot of kids are off Monday as well, like ours here
Right,
in
yeah.
Las Vegas, you
Mhm.
could seriously see by the time it getting through Monday domestically, not even talking about as far as worldwide, getting over 200, 225, and then you're talking about possibly even $400 million over a 5 to 7 day period worldwide, which would be a massive success for Nintendo and Universal, and most likely heading towards $1 billion, which is way beyond what a lot of people expected.
Yeah, and, everything that I'm seeing is saying that it's not one of you go to, cartoon movies sometimes, and
Mhm.
there's always some kind of joke, there's always something that they put in there for the adults in the audience, right?
Yes.
Everything that I'm reading about the Super Mario Brothers is like, this is completely for kids.
Yeah, this is good
Take your
for kids.
kids.
The
Yeah,
critical reviews have been, the hardcore critics are out there. They're trashing it, but the critics that are seeing it for what it is, as far as an entertainment, family fun kid movie, are
yeah,
enjoying what it does, and it does respect the Nintendo properties, which is something you and I talk about when we talk about video game adaptations, which is most important to us. Does it respect the IP that it's taking from? That to me is most important, and I think it's done that. Whether you think it's a good movie or bad movie, I think it respects. And I know that John Leguizamo, who I absolutely love as an actor, has been, as far as the representation part of it, he has a very valid point on that. But also, as far as the movie itself, is far different than the one he made with Bob Hoskins in the early '90s, which I look at personally, objectively, and say it did not respect the IP that it came from.
mhm.
This movie does, and that's why I think it's clicking with audiences.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's definitely something it could also be the timing, Easter long weekend, really I can't remember exactly off the top of my head everything that's in the theaters right now, but it's gotta be one of the very few,
Dungeons and
if not
Dragons,
the
John
only
Wick.
but I mean, truly for kids
Air.
movies.
Yeah, truly for kids movie, yeah, Shazam is not gonna cut it either, and that's tanking hard, so,
Yeah, no.
yeah, it is
Yeah.
it is the kids movie, the family fun movie event, because I don't think you could say Dungeons and Dragons could be, I guess could be. It has a little bit of language, but yeah, it's not exactly a kids movie. So this is for a young kids movie that I'm sure everybody is taking their kids to. So just tremendous, and I'm happy for Nintendo. I've been accused of being a Nintendo basher over the course of my years at Game Source and Pop Culture Cosmos, but I'm giving all the credits to do. They put their money, their time, and their property in the right hands with Illumination, who've done huge numbers with the Despicable Me franchise and are reaping the benefits and rewards again on another well done video game adaptation.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's keep those well done video game adaptations coming because, man, when they are bad, it's insulting.
Absolutely. This respects the property.
Yeah.
Again, it's a kids movie, so it's not going to be the greatest movie to parents out there, but it does tell a convenient story. It's been reviewed well by certain critics among there out there like IGN and some other places as well that are taking for what it is, a family fun movie, and obviously it's getting great cinema scores and people are talking about it, good word of mouth, and obviously that's why it's generating a lot of money this weekend. And again, we're looking at a possible 400 or more worldwide take in its first 5 to 7 days, which is absolutely great for a movie like this at a time like this. So kudos to Universal and Nintendo and Illumination for the Super Mario Brothers movie. If you've seen it and have thoughts, or if you're going to go ahead and check it out, please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, Melinda, appreciate so much you being part of today's show. Alex Scheidler was on today's show, also as well Rob Dolby. Any last thoughts before we head on out?
Yeah, if you are in the Las Vegas area and even if you just want to come and see what the Desert of Shadows LARP is about, you can do that. You can show up as a guest. And you get to do what we all do. You'll get a chance to wander around, and you'll get to catch players taking part in a scene, and all of that kind of stuff. If you're curious about setting up your own LARP, reach out to Alex. Alex is truly a stand-up dude. I like him a lot. I always have time for Alex, and I think that once you dip your toe into the pool, and then you're like, wait a minute, I can build my own character, I can do my costuming, and then I can show up and just sort of kind of do what I want. It's pretty fun. There's something liberating and freeing in it. And yeah, I just think that if you're in the Las Vegas area and you're at all intrigued, please check it out.
There you go. Go and check out Alex and Melinda. You never know. She might be there as well today at Deserts of Shadows, Las Vegas LARP Group, indeed. So for Melinda Barkhouse Ross, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day. LARP LARP!